Looking to take your financial knowledge to the next level? You're in the right place. Welcome to Ask Ralph, offering accounting, technical, and financial advice. Whether you're looking to save taxes or improve your business, he's got you covered. Here's your host of Ask Ralph, Ralph Eastup Jr.
Hello and welcome back to the Ask Ralph Show. If this is your first time joining us, I want to welcome you to our program. This is a program that we do every week, and we talk about all kinds of financial, tax, and other interesting topics. If you are interested, you can also check out our previous shows that we create as a podcast. Those podcasts are found at the AskRalph.com website. You can also get those on your normal podcast sites, such as iTunes or the Google Play Store. So today we're going to talk about, now that it's 2019, let's talk about some financial must-do steps. And these are things that I've, talked about or thought about over the last couple of days, and I thought it was a good thing to talk about. So this is your must-do things for 2019. And first thing I want to talk about is rebalancing. And what I mean here is in your investment portfolio. Not to get in too deep details, but we're talking about what's called an asset allocation model. And you don't have to understand that at its core level, but basically what I'm saying is it's time to check and see whether your weightings or what you have your investments in, such as stocks or bonds in categories like foreign or domestic stocks, really match what your financial game plan is. And that really comes down to, for most people, I think it's important to have a broker, somebody you can rely on and speak to discuss, what should I be looking for? What should I be striving towards? And this is a really good time to talk about that. So, you can restore your target weighting by deciding, maybe you want to sell something or maybe you want to buy something else to kind of get back into that program where you want to be. Which leads me to number 2, and that is review your investment plan. Most brokers are going to want to meet with you at least once a year. I think that's actually a requirement. I'm not a broker, so I can't say that for sure, but you need to look at, what's going on in your retirement. Have you grown more conservative as your ages approach entering retirement? You want to reduce your exposure to stocks and shift more of your money into bonds, perhaps, if you're getting ready to retire. One of the things they say here in an article I read not too long ago is if your asset allocation is no longer consistent with your goals, your time horizon, and your risk tolerance, revise your asset allocation plan. That's by Rob Williams, who is a vice president of financial planning at Charles Schwab. So review your investment plan and rebalance your portfolio. Number 3, and this is real important, and that's prepare or update your beneficiary designations. You want to make sure that you've listed a beneficiary on any type of financial investment you have. You need to understand that beneficiary designations typically trump names in your will. So make sure the beneficiary named on the designation form for each of your IRAs, 401ks, bank accounts, insurance policies, annuities, and so on are still the person you want them to be. And why could that be an issue? Well, it could be an issue because maybe you've had a major life event. Maybe you've gotten divorced. Maybe you've gotten married. Maybe you've gotten remarried or having a child. You need to make sure that those designations are up to date and are going to the right person, which leads me to number 4, and that's create or update a will. A lot of people do these. The people who actually get around to doing them. And then they never look at them or they just leave them on the shelf. And, perhaps something has changed in your life. So you need to make sure that your will is still what you want. If you don't clearly spell out who gets what, you can force your heirs to go into probate court. That's where you don't want to go, folks. That can trigger conflict among your loved ones and it can subject people you care about to painful and costly delays and expense. It's true. That's what can happen. Number 5, make or update end-of-life documents. Now, I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that, but that would be your will, your living will, your healthcare proxy, and your financial power of attorney. Each of these things is a different tool for assuring that your wishes are implemented when you may not be able to speak for yourself. So that's a good time to do that as well. Number 6, now we're going to get into talking a little bit about retirement account contributions. Number 6 is get your 401k contributions on track. One of the things that most financial, advisors say is you should put about 15% of your yearly pay, including any company match, into your account. Well, a lot of people can't do that right away. And if you're starting out at age 20 or 24, well, then maybe 15% is enough. But if you're in that time horizon where maybe you haven't started at all, and now you find yourself in your late 30s or even mid 40s, you may need to contribute a higher amount to get to your retirement goals. But the first thing you need to recognize is, what is your retirement goal? And then increase your contributions to match those. And one of the things I talk about a lot of times on this show is make sure you're contributing at least enough to where the employer is going to match. Because if not, you're just leaving that money on the table and nobody's getting the benefit of that. Number 7, take out your RMD. Okay, Ralph, what's an RMD? It's required minimum distribution you must withdraw from certain retirement accounts once you reach a certain age. And this is the general rule. The rule is that you must begin to withdraw money from your 401k accounts and traditional IRAs by April 1st following the calendar year in which you turn 70 and a half. Now, if you're still working, you can delay starting the 401k RMDs until April 1st of the year when you retire. And just remember, Roth IRAs are exempt from this. So here's a great example. If you turn 70 and a half in 2018, you have until April 1st of 2019 to take your first RMD without penalty. So you want to make sure you do that because there are significant penalties for not doing that. Let's go on to number 8. While we're still talking about RMDs, let's say this isn't your first year retirement. Take your annual RMD. You must take each subsequent year RMD by December 31st. So that's very important because you have till April 1st of the first year. So if you're going to turn 70 and a half in 2019, which a lot of my listeners might be getting into that, you must decide whether you want to delay your first RMD until April of 2020. Now, why would you do that? Well, you might want to do that because you might not need the money right now. You have to look at what your tax situation is. But then again, you may want to do that because if not, then you're going to effectively have to take 2 distributions in the same year. You understand what I'm saying? You would have your 2019 distribution, which you'd have to take by April 1st of 2020, but then you'd have to take your 2020 distribution as well. So you'd be doubling it up. So it might not be the best idea because it might push you into a higher tax bracket, but that's where you need to talk to somebody like myself and see if you're doing it right. And the key to all of this is making sure you're taking your RMDs because there is a 50% penalty on any shortfalls if you don't take your RMDs. Now, the last 2 things are talking about IRA contributions. So number 9 is contribute to an IRA. So let's say you're not covered by a retirement plan at work or a 401k plan. You still have until April 15th of 2019 to make a contribution for 2018. That's right. For last year, you still have till April of this year. Now remember, the limit is $5,500 or $6,500 if you're age 50 or older. Now, the final one, and this is one that I'm getting a lot of questions about, and that is bundling or bunching your charitable contributions. Now that the IRS has doubled the standard deduction, a lot of people may find that they're not able to itemize. So one of the things you might want to consider is bundling or bunching your charitable contributions. How would that work? Well, you would make a 3-year contribution in year 1 so that you would get that big deduction in year 1. And then in the second 2 years, or the second 3 years, however you want to do it, you would just take the standard deduction. So that would be a way to get the benefit of that charitable contribution. Now you need to have the cash flow to do that. So I hope this was helpful. The 2019 must-do financial checklist, and continue to listen. And we hope to hear from you at AskRalph.com, where we're always there for you.
You've been listening to Ask Ralph, brought to you by Saggio Accounting Plus. Please subscribe to and rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a rating and review. Our podcast is produced by Carolyn Peters. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Ask Ralph Media. You can also hear me each week on 1450 WILM and on 1410 WDOV in Delaware, and on the iHeartRadio app. Submit your questions or ideas for future shows by sending an email to AskRalph@AskRalph.com.
The information contained in this episode of Ask Ralph is based on data available as of the date of its release. Saggio Accounting Plus and Ask Ralph Media Inc. is under no obligation to update this content if changes occur. Applying this information to your specific situation requires careful consideration of all facts and circumstances, and any information provided is not to be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney before acting on any material covered.